Yeah, this is rare because I don't know what I'm doing today. So it's
kind of love that. Let's see what happens.
It's all on you today.
Oh no, God. Don't say it that way.
I am Doug Friedman.
I am Kenzie Janest.
And this is Your Mental Breakdown,
the podcast. We're back. It's been, well, that doesn't matter, actually. I'm already fucking it up.
Well, for us, sometimes we record 2 in a day, sometimes 1 in a day. So it could be a couple weeks. It could be
Yes.
minutes.
And they'll never know.
They'll never know. You'll never know. But
Makes
we're here
no
now.
difference. We're here.
We are here.
Happy to be here. What were we just talking about? Doug's ill prepared for this one, and I'm stoked.
Well, I just said I'm going to be all over the place because I haven't really prepared.
I think that's perfect.
I know you do.
Because this session is a little all over the place.
I know. It is.
That's
true.
no slight at you, Doug. This
it
session,
happens.
it just happens.
Yeah. We'll get there on the breakdown, but go. What? Bring it on.
I have a couple questions.
You do?
Yeah, and it's because, well, wait, hold on. So if this is the intro, so maybe we haven't listened to the session yet. So this question is kind of related to, both of the questions I have are somewhat related to the session. So maybe that makes it appropriate because it's a little related. Is that a good thing? Do we want it to be completely random?
I'm sorry. Are those your first 16 questions for me?
No.
Let's see.
No.
Yes, no, maybe. Wow, that's a good point. I haven't thought about it that way. No, yes.
Okay.
And 4D2.
4D2?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what that means, but
42?
42. Oh, 42 was the answer to life. Got it. Okay, great. Can people actually change? That's my question. My therapist hit me with this the other day, and it has stuck with me. He literally, I don't even remember what we were saying or talking about. This was like middle of the session too, and he just hit me with, do you believe that people can change? And I thought it was a trick question because I was like, we're therapists. Like, yeah, of course.
Right.
Of course. Or else why am I in this business? And he just like laughed and he was like, well, I don't. And I was like, all right, bitch, like, tell me more. Like, what are you getting at? And he was like, he's very psychodynamic. And I think it's a pretty psychodynamic thing to believe in this kind of deterministic way of personality. We can't control what our past is and we're going to turn out the way that we turn out. And we can't really change the core of who we are and our personality. However, we can reappraise certain thoughts and not act on certain thoughts. And so what I landed at is it depends how you define change, right? Because are you changing? Is it real change if your outward actions and appearance changes?
Right.
And your core values or automatic thoughts are still the same. Like we have these defense mechanisms, automatic thoughts. We're not usually fully replacing them with something else.
Yeah.
So then are we actually changing or are we just acting different? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I think that to me is the crux and the answer to it, which I would say, can people change? Absolutely. They are constantly changing. Sometimes they act a certain way. Sometimes they act this way.
Yeah.
Are they predictable? Some people are predictable if they stay within how they normally act, but they might act abnormally. That's why mental illness is so interesting because people are acting and being, I don't want to say abnormal, but different, right?
Yeah.
And even people with no mental illness, if it's just mental health or emotional health, or we change when we learn things in school, right? We change when we get new information. We change our clothes.
Yeah. And by the law of neuroplasticity, right? Like our brain is constantly changing. So therefore we are changing, no?
Yeah.
I don't know if he was just trying to fuck with me a little bit or have me get all heated into my intellectual bullshit that I get into.
Yeah.
But it was just interesting. I was like, what are you trying to get out of me right now? Are you trying to make me like argue that change is possible for my own good here?
Did you ask him that?
I don't remember now. Well, I was like, what do you mean you don't believe people can change? Like I was fighting him a little bit.
If he was doing something that is pretty highbrow therapy
meta cognition,
right, getting you to fight yourself on the idea of change and what that's like so that you can explore it for yourself and reaffirm something for yourself.
Right, right.
Cool. Mission accomplished. Well done. I mean, taken out of context.
I know. It just sounds like intellectual inquiry.
Right. And that is a question that I think you could ask a client, a friend, a colleague at several different times over the course of knowing them, and you'll hear different answers to that.
Yeah.
Which to me is at the core, yes, people.
Because people change.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's something about if you were getting to this with him or with somebody else, the essence of a person might always be there. You know, what we might say, oh, my soul, or oh, that's how I am. Like kind of people that you know in junior high might still be that kind of person, but they've certainly changed a ton since then.
Well, and I think that's where my emotion came out, because I was like, what do you mean? So much of my work and just my life is like, I've changed so much, like since I was a kid. And I'm like, the thought of me not actually changing. And I'm like, wait, is this fake? Am I not myself? Like, what do you mean I haven't changed or evolved? That is the essence of life to me. Aren't we always evolving and changing? So I don't know. Now I'm like, I need to get back to him.
If you pull back and look at it, some of it might be very predictable. There are people that look at the course of history over time, and you can look at anything microscopically and see like, oh, look at this difference here. Look at this difference here. But you pull back and you go, oh,
there are overall themes. But this is where I think it does come back to Drew or even Sarah. Like when we talk about those patterns and the themes of the session or the arc of the session.
Right.
Well, yeah, because you kind of say this at one point.
No spoilers.
No spoilers, but he was saying something about how he knows who he is. He's learning to trust himself, right? Like, spoiler alert. Yeah. Sorry, I did it anyway.
Spoiler alert. We've been working on this for 2 years.
Yeah, that's true. But you were saying, I think, at the end of the session, maybe we just build awareness, and that's enough sometimes, like to just have the awareness of something, but we just change how we respond to the thought that we're aware of or the behavior.
Sure.
I don't know. God,
you know,
it's
it makes
circular.
me think of, brace yourself, I might be using a metaphor here.
Oh, okay. Incoming.
Yeah. Life is like a river. Oh, wait, that's a simile.
That is a simile.
Life is a river.
But if you, okay, so now that's a metaphor. What's the difference between a metaphor and an analogy?
Analogy, metaphor.
Not the word, but the actual definitions of the word.
You'd think I would know this.
You should know this. Yeah. Well, I know a metaphor and a simile. Simile has the word like in it.
Like or as. You're comparing something to something, whereas a metaphor is something is something.
Yeah.
Right?
So then what is an analogy?
Analogy is giving like a story that kind of parallels. So you can see something that is similar to.
Okay.
Right?
You better have a good definition. I mean, you are literally writing a book on it. So, I'm helping you workshop here.
This morning, noticing one of the little water features. What do we call it?
A river, a fountain, a faucet. Was it natural or was it
natural?
Man-made?
On one of the trails, seeing the river. I guess it's a stream. Yeah.
Is there a better word for this?
I don't know. Creek? Yeah.
Running water.
Running water.
Okay.
Watching the running water.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I'm there.
And you can see spots where there are rocks and leaves and branches blocking its path.
Yes.
So it can't go through.
Yes.
So it goes around, right?
Yes.
Sometimes after it rains, there's a heavier flow of water and it will move the branches and the leaves out of the way and just flow through.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Sometimes over the course of a whole season, and even being on a lot of these trails year after year and have been going on them some for 10 years, 15 years.
Right.
They look different where the actual path is, not just the water. And the water is different from where it's moved. So there is change.
Erosion.
Yet the constant is the water is flowing in this direction, right? It's moving this way.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's something to be said for we are constantly, I think, growing and evolving and moving forward. Even though sometimes it feels like we're moving backwards, you know, and the water stops, but it's still a flow of things. So I would say that, yes, we are constantly changing, and there are some things that at the core are still the same.
That stay stagnant.
Well, maybe not stagnant.
I don't know if
stagnant's
not the right word. Yeah, constant.
I think the better question is, can people change their thoughts? Can people change their behaviors? Can people change their feelings? Can people change
getting more specific.
Their core beliefs and their essence?
My gosh, I think so. Maybe this is because he's not a CBT therapist, and CBT and humanistic therapies obviously take a much more like self-actualizing, change is possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's the people that come to me saying, well, I'm hardwired this way. And that's...
Yeah, exactly.
We can rewire.
It's that's hard, neuroplasticity.
Exactly. And you and I bonded on this, I think, the very first time we talked to each other.
Right? It's my favorite fact of life is that neuroplasticity exists.
Right. We can actually change.
Yeah.
It takes work.
It does.
And it's
Repetition, practice. Yeah.
Yep. I am not repetitive at all.
No, you're actually, everything you say is, I'm hearing it from the first time.
I've said it once and that's it. I do not say things over and over.
I've said it once.
I've said it a million times.
No, I've said it once.
No.
Period.
Yeah, I think I'm more of the million time guy.
You're definitely the million time guy.
Yeah.
But for a reason. It gives me faith because I'm not a faith-based person. I'm a very scientifically minded person. And my therapist and I talk about faith a lot, but in terms of a secular faith, like a faith in just believing in something, because you kind of have to have almost a blind faith. If you believe in something and you're passionate about something, you have to think that there's hope that it will work out. And I think for me, being a therapist is actually the most optimistic thing that I've ever done. It's the most optimistic endeavor I think you can do to be a client or a therapist because you're believing that change is possible.
Yes. I don't know if I've said this to you, but one of my clients I've mentioned on the podcast who's dysthymic has had depression almost all of his life.
Yeah, that's like a low-grade depression in case people don't know.
Low-grade, long-lasting.
Long-lasting though, yeah, chronic.
Yeah, low-grade doesn't diminish it. It is.
No, it does not. It's a low hum of depression that has been there for a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
And he has said, I think depressed people are the most optimistic people around. Right?
Yeah.
Why?
Curious. Yeah.
Because they wake up every morning and get out of bed.
And still live life. Right. Yeah.
Right.
I would argue even then dysthymic people are the most optimistic, right? Because it's not just a maybe 2-week depressive episode. It is a full-on low hum. Even the anxious person's kind of low hum, right? Like GAD. Like, the fact that you live life. Oh, God. Haha. The fact that you still feel those feelings and get up and do your life anyway, that's amazing. Yeah. That's it. And sometimes that's all we can do.
That's optimism. That's hoping that it will change, that things will change. I will change. Something will change.
Yeah. But it's realistic optimism, right? Like I think it toes that line like of realism and optimism because I think it's realistic.
That almost makes me think of the concept of false hope, which I don't really like. I like the idea of hope is hope. Like the people that
I don't think that's
buy a lotto ticket going, I'm going to win the Mega Millions. Cool.
Well, I'm going to win or, I have a chance at winning. Those are two different things.
Regardless, I think what it does for somebody is give them that idea of, ooh, if I win, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Now you're in a place of hope. Yeah. Right?
Are you arguing that that's okay? Yeah, I don't either. Yeah, I don't think false hope is really.
If you were purely science, you'd go, no, don't buy a lottery ticket. That's a waste of $1.
Well, gosh, if we're really getting into that, I'm like, I don't care. Do what you want with your life.
Well, and I would say $1 is a very small price to pay to have hope.
Exactly. And if it makes you happy to have that glimmer of hope, cool.
It can't be that bad.
If it's harmful, then that's a different discussion.
Right.
All right, cool. So let's get into this episode that we spoiled already.
I love how you're like, oh, I've got some questions for you. And we spend like 20 minutes on one question.
Oh, yeah. Well, but it's perfect, right? Because I think we're both talkers. We have a lot to say about even just one topic, one question.
You know what is therapeutic and helpful?
Obviously, following us on all the social medias would be immensely therapeutic.
You go, girl.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. I sense it.
If you have something in mind, you can tune in to us. You can rate us and review us wherever you listen to podcasts. That helps us out. You can write to us directly at info@yourmentalbreakdown.com. Find us on the socials at your.mental.breakdown and listen to the session, and we will break it down for you in just a little bit.
Shortly
indeed.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
What's going on?
Yeah, my last couple of weeks have been pretty mundane, honestly. I've been sick as a dog. When I first got sick, I ended up pooping my pants at work. And so I was like, it was really bad. I took a couple of days off after that. That night I had like 103.5 degree fever. I was sweating. Like my entire bed was just wet. Literally as of yesterday, I started feeling better. Not yesterday, but the day before, girlfriend started, and again, kind of confusing, and this is my first kick at this cat, so bear with me, but she thinks she's having pre-labor contractions, and so we're kind of like laying in wait, and if I was 3 years ago, little Drew, again, kind of preparing for all of this, it'd be a different story. She's either going in pre-labor contractions or it's kind of part of the flu that I had. because it was my digestive tract and all of that. It's a 2-part story for me right now. It's really hard because there's nothing I can do, and I'm just kind of watching her like be in pain and go through it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's completely out of my control. There's nothing I can do. There's no pain I can take. There's no thing I can say that makes it better. There's nothing like that. It's a big mile marker for me to kind of see where I'm at and see how my emotions are throughout the biggest thing of my life.
Yeah.
And I'm doing pretty good as far as like the stress and the anxiety and the preparedness. I was kind of thinking where I'm at and being honest with myself in the grand scheme of things. I think we talked about it 8 months ago. Of course, I'm not ready, but I am ready. And I think I'm taking that same mantra now of I'm really not ready, especially when she called me and was like, yo, I'm going to pre-labor contractions. I was like, holy fuck, not yet. Like, hold on, I need to do a couple of things first.
Right.
But all in all, I feel very safe in all of this, and I'm really excited. And, I'm just ready for him to be here. I'm ready for him to slide on out, and I can hold him and be there and all of that. And wait, before I stop that, and I'm really enjoying watching girlfriend be pregnant. I'm really enjoying watching her be pregnant, and she's really pretty. And, it's cool to watch what that is too.
It's great. And how you're walking through it and how you're describing it, it sounds phenomenal. And it's not 3 years ago true. It's today true. What you're talking about in terms of girlfriend and how she's walking through this and what she's doing and what you're doing, you talked about your excitement, the anxiety, the preparedness. That's you.
Yeah.
3 years ago, Drew would have been talking about how you're doing in relation to what you're offering her, what you're doing for her, right? That's something really to celebrate and to highlight as your growth and progress, that you're measuring how you're doing in this situation by how you're actually doing, right? Yeah. The thing that you're doing more than anything is being present and being a part of it.
Yeah.
If we look back to how you grew up, the thing, and 3 years ago and even 3 weeks ago, the thing that you want the most is to know that you're there with somebody, that you're not going through it alone.
I know I've cried a lot in our sessions, but I think this is a time where I could cry happy. I think it's a really big point in my life, as I'm getting older and becoming more of a man and growing into my big Drew shoes. I just think God works in crazy ways, and it sounds weird, but I think this is exactly what I needed as far as showing myself that I can love myself while simultaneously loving someone and something else at the same time. And I feel like I'm really embodying what I said to you when we first started, where this is what I've always wanted, and this is my big dream, and this is it. I had a really cool revelation on my way home yesterday. I was talking to my dad, and I realized his feeling of watching me and my brother grow up and how cool that was. And now it's my turn to kind of feel that. And it's almost like the baton's passing, but I'm passing it to myself in a way. But I really feel like this is my family, and I'm head of the household, and these are my people. And it's not just my immediate family now. It's like we're really embodying what our family is and what we want it to be. And it's not what my parents want this pregnancy to be. And it's not what girlfriend's dad wants this pregnancy to be. It's what me and her want it to be. And we're involving everybody the way we want it to be. Yeah. It's just fun to kind of sit back and look at all the little details and how caught up I used to be on all of them. And now, to your, exactly how you said it, I'm celebrating those little details now. What you're describing is your movie. And let's just skip the analogy and just say it's your life. Yeah. You're not looking at your dad's life and going, oh, I'm an extension of that. I'm trying to do what he did. You're doing it, like you said, your way, our way. You're living your own life. And it's pretty amazing when you start living your life for you, not for others, not how they're going to react to you or how they're going to see you or what they want, or I need to be an extension of my dad. It's not that he passed the baton to me. It's that I'm taking the baton, or I pulled a baton off the shelf and I have my own baton. And this is the one that I'm going to run with. And one of the things I wanted to hit in this is when you said preparedness, it's the ultimate Green Beret, not Boy Scout. And maybe it's a little bit of both, Right. What you've really embodied over the years that we've been working together is the unknown. That's okay, because I know me. Yeah. I can be prepared by virtue of being me.
and being me and girlfriend and how we're going to be parents. I don't know how to do everything when a kid pops out, but I know me.
You know me, I like real life stories to kind of come back to you with. And I think my example of what that looks like is we had a registry and all of that. We have everything set. I have to make the crib. And I think that's my Boy Scout in me of like, okay, go down the list. Do I have the tent? Do I have the screws? Do I have, everything was done. My Boy Scout in me, I want to talk about finances and what that is. So the last 6, 8, 10 months, of really building the finances to be prepared for what this is has really helped the emotional toll of what that was. Because I think prior, if I didn't have the funds to go buy it and do what I needed to do for my son, I would have freaked out and I would have blamed and I would have pointed fingers and I would have been like, what the fuck? How come you don't have my back? Why you abandoned me? And so now it's like, I am prepared for me and my family, and I'm allowing help, and I'm allowing people to move in my life and help me without making them, forcing them and being like, well, you said, and you told me you'd do this. This is my family and this is what we're doing. And we still want help and we still want you to be a part of it. And it's okay if something falls through the cracks.
Yeah, I love that. I love hearing you talk about that because there's a version of you that, wow, we still didn't have that car seat. You let me down. I've been let down. I didn't get that. Like, you're going to do what you need to do. And if people are letting you down, which they might actually let you down, it's not completely derailing you. You realize they've all got their movies, but you're not going to let what happens in their movie dictate yours. Yeah. And that, to me, that's the preparedness of Green Beret and Boy Scout. The Boy Scout knowing I need one, and the Green Beret going, cool, that person didn't come through. I still need to do it. I'll do it. And the little Drew in you is not wounded so much so that you can't operate or look at that smile on you.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't do it often, but I do want to pat myself on the back for this one too, in the sense of I'm not letting it affect me and I'm not letting it wound me, and I'm still aware of it. And I think that's the balance that I've been trying to find.
I think the ultimate evolution of this might be, you tell me, being able to say something about it without waiting for their reaction or response to what you say, and not building in, I'm really bummed out, but that's okay. I understand things happen in life. Like, no problem. Like, that's cool. I'll take care of it. Just going, yeah, I'm really bummed out by that. Period.
Yeah.
That's a marker. Just going, yep, I have that feeling. I said it. Now I can move on.
Yeah.
When we don't do things like that, then we'll harbor and we'll hold on to it. And then we'll see someone else or the same person will let us down. And then we're building up that evidence and the accumulation of this stuff.
And then it pops, and then one little thing turns into a big thing, and it's just it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I want to go back to pooping the pants. And I say it that way because it's what happened, and it made you smile, and we can laugh at it. Yet, in the moment, that's something that I have a friend, is not a client, who calls that the great equalizer. It's something that, like, you really will have a moment of, like, however important I feel, something else is taking precedence right now. Something else is more important, and I need help. And emotionally, it's also something, if you just realize you're sick, even when you're sick, it's like, oh, everybody makes allowances for the person that's sick. So walk me through what emotionally or just mentally was going on for you, because you said it as like, yeah, I just mentioned it, but it's no big deal. Like, at the time it was probably the biggest deal.
I was already in the bathroom when it happened. So I had nobody around me. It wasn't, I don't know, man. And maybe I'm just a weirdo in that sense, but I instantly started laughing about it. I was laughing because I thought it was funny. And I was like, holy shit, I'm sick. Like, oh my God, I need help. And that's when I was calling girlfriend. Emotionally, there was no embarrassment. There was no fear of like, oh my God. And then I was sharing the same story with my coworkers the other day. And then he was like, holy shit, friend, did the same thing. And so we all had like a big laugh about it. And like, for whatever reason, as I've turned 26, like, it's happened to me a couple of times in my adult life where like, it just kind of like rolled out. And I more so see it as a connecting point and vulnerability to people. Cause I think when you start talking about pooping your pants, like, you can't help but smile and you can't help but laugh at the situation. And so I almost use it as a tool to knock down a couple barriers and be just a vulnerable guy with some people.
Yeah, I love it because, we're all vulnerable. We're all human. Yeah. If it was the kind of thing that horrified you because, oh my God, I pooped my pants. There's no way I can't go outside. I can't do that. Like, somebody's got to bail me out. Then we're holding all the shame and embarrassment about it. And it's telling us something else about ourselves. To be able to just roll with it and be okay with it and not hide it, not have it be a commentary on you, but to be an adult about it instead of be a little baby or try to hide it or anything like that. Great. Interesting that you're about to have a little baby who's going to be doing nothing but pooping his pants for quite a while.
Right. It was a situation for sure. And I think more good came out of it than bad.
So let's hit that because we're getting close. I love that you said like, oh yeah, she looks beautiful.
And it's funny. I think, I don't know why my mind went here, but I'll say it anyway. I almost feel that I've missed out a little bit in the sense of like, I wanted to take more pictures and I wanted to see the whole evolution of what it is. And I think I'm like not free falling. That's not what I'm trying to say, but like, I'm almost like trying to grab onto like tree branches as I'm falling. If that makes sense, without falling. And I don't know what that is because I've been very present. I've been very here. I've been very in tune with what's going on and everything around me. And I don't know what that feeling is. Same with my parents of when I was moving out, in the sense of I don't want to move out because if I leave, then they could die and I could miss out on something. And I don't know what's going on. It's very similar to what that is, but now translating it into my people and my family and watching my son come from like nothing to now he is big inside of her belly and seeing what that is. And it almost didn't really feel real until month 6 or 7. And by that time I was like, holy shit, like I missed out on feeling the first baby bump and taking a picture and logging that and putting it in the scrapbook. And not to say I would ever even go back to the scrapbook to look at it. Like, I don't think I would, but just knowing that I have it, I think is where, and it's not guilt and it's not remorse and it's not sad. It's just like, I feel like I'm missing out on it. It's almost like FOMO.
Yeah. So a couple of things I just want to throw out and pick it up and take it. And let's see where we go. Maybe we're thinking about what we did or did not get when we were a kid, or how our parents were for us, for you. And some things still left unsaid to parents. And that's bringing some of that up because you're seeing how you're going to be as a parent or how you want to be. Something I think you recognized a while ago. You're 26 and you're about to be a parent. And even though you'd say, and I don't know shit, neither did your parents when you guys came along. I also hear something about you looking at what's important. Like you just said a little while ago, from day one, I was saying this is the most important thing. Yeah, family. And your family and what you're doing with it.
I think my parents and how I grew up, and I mean, it's exactly that. I was thinking about my parents and how they raised me and the opportunities that they provided. And I'm like mad thankful. And that. I almost don't even have to say it. But, I'm very grateful for the life that my parents gave me and how I grew up. I think I'm so Boy Scout on protecting him from the shit that I've experienced that I haven't allowed myself to Green Beret it yet, because I don't think I've Green Beret it for myself yet. And I think I'm getting there. And I think this is a good time to bring up the conversation I had with my dad yesterday. And I was telling him, I was like, yo, like, I don't want you to tell mom yet because she gets very emotional and she kind of goes off the deep end when things happen, like in a big ways, good or bad. And I was like, yo, just kind of keep it between us. But I think girlfriend went into pre-labor contractions. She could pop tomorrow, could be a week, could be 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I don't know, just keeping you up to date, right? I don't know if you said awesome or even mentioned anything about it, but it translated now into my mom, and she's been having a rough couple of weeks, and she was really drunk, and they went out with a couple, and she couldn't even get out of the car, and he had to take her back home, and, you know, dealing with all of that. And I said something along the lines of, I said this, I was like, oh yeah, I sent her a picture of a dog this morning trying to brighten up her day. And he instantly went into, don't worry about it. Like, I can handle this. This isn't for you. Don't worry. And I was like, Dad, stop. I'm very aware of what's going on, and I know how mom works, and I get it. Like, I'm probably better than anybody. And he kind of took a step back and was like, oh yeah, you're right. You do know. I think it's the hardest part for me right now of this transition I'm in from being my own person, little Drew, to being single Drew, getting out of old girlfriend relationship, to now finding the girl I want to spend the rest of my life with, to building a family with her, and not really quite dealing with my parents' relationships with myself. I've kind of come to realize that we have a very surface level relationship, even though it's very deep and there's a lot of emotion within that. I haven't found the right way for me to be able to talk to her about everything that's happened in my life and her life and our lives together, and where that like little Venn diagram kind of intersects. I think as I'm looking at all of this, and I'm looking at my son coming, and even in kid, you know, and just really wanting that connection with them of emotion. I think that's really what I'm trying to stay within all this struggle that I'm internally battling of the guilt, the remorse, the did I miss out on something? And I think I'm putting myself in my parents' shoes of looking back at me and understanding that I did miss out a lot of me and my parents. And I don't want to blame my mom or my dad, because I think I play a role in it too, but I also don't want to discredit what they did, not to me, but did around me, between my mom's alcohol and drug problem, my dad's workaholic problems, and him being gone, and my mom being passed out. And I think that's really where I get sad, and I future trip with my kids on what that is.
What's the sad?
I think the loneliness of not having anybody there for me when I needed them. And
yeah,
I'm not trying to blame them, and this isn't all their fault. Like, it's not. And it is.
I hear all that, and I hear just that last bit. It's not their fault, and it is. It is, because it was them. It's not their fault. I hear that as, I don't blame them for it, and I'm not necessarily holding them accountable for it now. There's nothing they can really do that will undo what was done. And they probably weren't even aware, and they were just living their own movie and doing their own thing. Yet, I'm not going to ignore that it had an impact on me and my life and how I was shaped. Yeah. Right? One thing we've dealt with for a while is, so how it did impact me was it created this need for attachment and reassurance. And you might have some sense of grief and loss about the parents I should have had, the childhood I should have had, and you didn't. Yet, it's not necessarily about blaming them. It's just about, in this piece that I'm talking about, grieving that it wasn't there.
Yeah.
And for you, I think it helps shape what you really value. That's partly why family is so important to you, as is loyalty and trust issues, which you've talked about for a long time.
Yeah, we haven't talked about those in a while, though.
What does that mean? Break that down.
It's funny. I was thinking about trust the other day. I said it 6 months, 8 months ago. I trust people to be who they are. And I think I've really embodied what that is. And I think the trust aspect in my life isn't trusting that you're always going to be there for me and you're never going to let me down and everything roses. It's more so that people do mess up and there are mistakes and things do happen and nobody's perfect and you kind of got to walk through it. I'm very much so on the pendulum side of trust no one until they earn it. And it's different than 6 months ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, where I just trusted everybody until you burned me. And then it was instantly, nah, I don't want you. So it's kind of like the other way now. It's like, I don't trust you until you give me a reason to. And that's not to say I don't like you. And it's not to say I don't want to do things with you or business or this, that, the other.
Sure.
I just don't want to bring you into my close circle until I trust you.
Yeah. And trust for you is earned. And maybe it's earned by showing me both your character and your choices. It will be interesting to see how you progress with that, certainly with girlfriend, because it's something where you have not trusted her choices partly in how kid was brought up and partly in some of her personal choices with who she was spending time with and what behaviors and situations she was getting into. But knowing her and seeing her and the way that she's been there for you in the past year, for sure, almost year and a half, has really helped earn, I think, some of that trust.
Definitely.
Right? I think I can make the therapeutic leap to say that what you're really ultimately learning is how to trust yourself.
Yeah.
And that it's not dependent on other people or other situations, and even trusting some discomfort. Like you said, it's not calibrated yet. You're still kind of working on that. Yeah. That's almost a lifelong thing, because that's, as I said, the only thing you can count on in life is change. Like, things are going to change and people are going to change. Right.
Yeah. I think I'm earning my own trust now. Simultaneously, I'm also figuring out who I am, but it's very challenging. It's very challenging.
Yeah. How so?
I think more so in the sense of fear of making the wrong choice while I'm earning my trust. I think the first and foremost is my relationships and trusting who I say I am and who I want to be and who I am in my head. I want that to be really who I am, not just who I think I am. And then second, I think, is telling the truth and not in the sense of like, oh, I'm actively lying to people. But I like to say yes to projects work-wise and saying yes to hanging out with people and being the person that is all-encompassing as far as work, family, fun, everything balanced. I'm not there yet, for sure. I know that.
Right.
But while I'm walking through all of this and then I'm building new relationships and losing some old ones, and I'm trying to be consistent in who I say I am and who I and how I walk day to day.
Yeah, I like that. I think one of the strongest things you've said today is I pooped my pants. Because, because what you're going to come up against is the partner, the dad, and the person you want to be, and the reality of your surroundings. And how do I balance not being there with wanting to be there? And there might be a point where you realize I can't put on the cape and do it all and be everywhere. So I have to recognize my limitations. It's recognizing I can't do it right now.
Right.
I can't do it all.
I think it's really important for me to take that, embody it, and I keep using the word, and to trust what that is and to trust myself in those limitations. Because I like pushing the boundary and I like seeing where those limitations sit and seeing how far I can really go. And it has worked out for me in the past and has also not. I think that's going to be a lifelong challenge for me as far as, okay, well, here's my limitation line. Where do I stand on it?
Well, yeah. And what is the limitation? Is the limitation because I have to be at work and earn money? Or is the limitation because I really want to go do this thing? Well, no, I have a responsibility to my family because I didn't get that and I need to be there.
My emotional limitations too, and where I stand on all of what that is. Going back to the trust thing and allowing people to prove themselves first. I think as I'm training wheeling this, taking it for a spin, I feel so far it's actually helped me a lot in moving a lot slower in relationships and not pushing everything all at once. And I did have something happen yesterday. I got a free pair of shoes and I ended up giving them to a friend the other day because they were his size and they weren't mine. And I was like, I could bless you. Like, you're going to love these. And so I gave them to him and he was like, yo, I was about to buy you those, but they sold out in your size. And so two-part thing for me in what that is, my gut reaction was, holy fuck, he was going to buy me those. Like, thank you. What a great friend. And I was instantly in the same thought process. I was like, well, what the fuck can I get him now? And so I'm still playing that dichotomy in my brain as I walk through all of this. So it's not gone, and it's not what services can I provide. That didn't just stop. I'm still very much so in that mode. However, with my emotional limitations of what that is, that why I'm trying to tie it in, I realized internally that I didn't need to give Brent anything, and I didn't need to do anything.
I hear that, and some of it, you're right, might be lifelong, and more than anything, because you're aware of that, that's fantastic. You know, I think of it as it's to a degree part of who you are and how you are. It's what about can you receive? Part of why you say blessings, you know, when you eat your meal is you give thanks for what you get.
Yeah.
And having that gratitude. It's not, oh, and let me give some back and let me share with that. It's right. That's noble sometimes, but it's also being able to receive something. Gift giving is huge for you. Gift receiving is a big thing too. Can I also really be appreciative and let somebody else show their gratitude and appreciation to me? Maybe I need to work on receiving.
Yeah. And as you're saying all of that, I think that's what I really want to work on for a while, but in the next couple of days specifically is the appreciation. I think I do a pretty good of appreciating people and letting them know that I love them and that I am thankful for them. I think I want to find my calibration of appreciation to where I'm not using my appreciation as the gift giving for what you gave.
It's writing the thank you card, which we've talked about, is its own act, not I need to do that because you gave me something, and I need to show almost equal appreciation to the thing that you gave me. I mean, then it's never ending.
Right.
And it's like we said a long time ago, being able to say thank you, period.
Yeah.
How do I show the appreciation and stop it without giving it back too much? And that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I don't know the answer for that yet. I don't, but I'm excited to start trying out appreciation on different levels and calibrating what that is.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to hearing about you kind of saying like, yeah, I was able to say to people, man, thanks. I really appreciate that. And that was it. And it was done.
Yeah.
And we're back.
We're back, baby.
Thank you. Period.
Thank you. Period.
That's right.
It's really reminding me of Ariana Grande's Thank You Next, but it's thank you, period.
Right.
Speaking of the theme.
Yes.
The theme of this session, Doug.
Should we get into them?
Can we get into the meat?
Well, into you texting me going, oh, what's going on here? And here's your thing here.
What?
You're like, don't curate it so closely, this one. I want people to hear how we kind of meandered around.
Because I think there's value in a session like this where you don't really know where you're going. Not that it's lost or that it's lacking purpose or anything like that. Sometimes long-term therapy, this is what happens. You have so many topics that you could probably talk about, and the client comes in and they're not in crisis. There's not something super prevalent, not something super relevant happening, but there are things that we could go to, right? So anyway, my first question was literally going to be, what would you say the arc of this session is, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
what is the theme here? Because it's a little bit all over the place, right?
Yeah.
And it happens sometimes, I think. It felt like one of those sessions where he maybe didn't come in hot with something to talk about. And we jump around a little bit until we kind of find our rhythm. Like, oh, there's the meat. There's the bread and butter. There's what we're doing. But still, I don't know if by the end of the session, I was like, yeah, that was the theme of the session.
You know, it's interesting to me, having listened to the raw audio for this, that it was literally 20 minutes into the session. The actual session that has the small talks, the identifier stuff, the things we cut.
Yeah.
But that's where I kind of went, all right, I'm going to throw out a few things here and let's see what sticks.
Yes.
Okay, I hear this. I hear that. I hear this. Yeah, what's hitting for you? And he gets to pick where we go. Like some people have asked, and you've asked this too. I think we had a listener ask this. How do you know what direction to pick?
Yes.
Right? How do you know which one of these branches to follow? Because so many branches could come up in this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've talked about this.
Right. And that happens in a lot of sessions. And this is one in particular where it's not so much that he's spewing and he's all over the place. It's more like, okay, wait, I hear this theme going on. I kind of hear this. I can hear how maybe this fits in with trust issues.
Remnants of past themes and patterns.
Yeah, we even hit like Green Beret and Boy Scout, like being prepared for the kid.
You hit thank you, period. Like you hit a lot of stuff. You hit dad and mom and like, the trust issues and becoming a parent, right? He's going to be a parent soon. And that's a huge theme, I think, with Drew and Sarah is just like not wanting to do to your children what your parents did to you.
Totally. A lot of therapists will have an idea of how to arc a session. Some people don't do it as timely as others. I'm very keen on I have 50 minutes with this person.
Yeah, you're good at that.
So, and that's from
experience.
It is from experience, and it's from having not been able to wind a session down at 50 minutes. You know? And going over and like, oh man, not only did I go over, but I have a minute and a half to write a note, go to the bathroom. I can't do this, and I will not be late for a session. So I have to sacrifice something. So I've learned through trial and error how to arc something.
Okay.
There is some art to it, which is partly why I love this. Yes. And there is something about pinning things and looking at the forest, not just the trees. Yeah. Somebody might come in and be really focused on a tree, and I'll go, okay, but I hear this tree, we're going to pin that. And we'll talk about that another time. Okay. Yeah. And it's not so much my memory being able to hold those things. I'm constantly constructing the session as though it were a 3.5 minute song. And here we are with another one of my analogies.
Yep.
But that's being a songwriter and having been an actor. Like I know how to arc something. I know beats. I know how to find the verse, the chorus, come back to the verse, the second chorus, then hit the bridge, right? Yeah. Okay. Then the chorus, then an outro. And you can mess with song structure. Yeah. The same way you can mess with the structure of a session. Okay. I think it's nice to have resolve in a song at the end, but sometimes dissonance is good too. Right. So in therapy, even if you don't end with a nice
mic drop.
Right. If you don't have that resolve, if you don't have the mic drop, if it's just kind of leaving you hanging, they're going out of the session. They're going to be thinking about everything. And they have a whole week, if you're doing weekly sessions, to think about that and bring something back in. Yeah. I don't know. I love the art of what we do. I love being able to kind of construct it that way with them.
Yeah. You know? Yeah, it's a collaborative effort. Right. I mean, that's why I like the whole, like, clients sometimes are just like, I don't really know what I want to talk about today. And I think it's our job as therapists to kind of know like what their issues are and their themes are and like their goals and values. Okay, here's a smorgasbord. I literally used that term last night with a client. Like, here's a menu of options, right? Like, what should we focus on? So,
yeah, I love that. Sometimes they don't know what to say, or sometimes they have 12 things to say. And it's making sense of it, knowing the forest. I think we have a responsibility to hold, I know the general direction we're going. Like I was saying, the river, the stream flows this way. I know where we're flowing and I know where this ends up. Right. You might present different rocks and branches or leaves in this session. And sometimes we'll have to pay attention to those and move those out of the way and really work at those.
Yeah, that's the calibrating, right? Or course correcting. Yeah.
Right. And seeing like, what is it that we need to do to keep this moving? I've had clients that will come in and they will talk for 49 minutes of a 50-minute session. And then they'll go, oh, yeah, I guess we're out of time.
Really, though? Like they talk the whole time and you don't say a word?
I
find that hard to believe.
That has happened.
Really?
Yep.
And why? What were the circumstances?
There's a lot going on, or they need to tell me the play-by-play of something that happened.
Okay. Right? And you will not interrupt them at all?
For the most part, I do. Okay. Every now and then, I will let them go. Okay. And for the most part, I do interrupt them because I can hear, oh, this is anxiety. Oh, this is this. Oh,
usually. Yeah.
And I will be acutely aware of time and where they're going. Like, okay, I can hear this story. Their story isn't going to arc until.
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to have 5 minutes to wrap this up. Nope, that's not going to work, because the way to actually do therapy with what they've brought in is to look at these patterns and to look at this. Yes. But we can't do that today.
Right. Today was just getting the story and the details.
Right. So I'm going to use my last 5 minutes to mark that. And that doesn't always happen. Sometimes I will interrupt them because I'll go, wait, no, we actually have to do this. And if I stop their story, they're going to feel like, I didn't get to get that out. Like, oh, man. Yeah. However, this is with clients that I know fairly well and been working with. I'll go, wait, but if we stop them, their pattern, I can hear it right there. And we could dive deep into the pattern right now without hearing the rest of the story. Let's just go to this because their sensation is here.
Yeah. Okay.
The particular one I had this week, had I done that, they wouldn't have heard it because they needed to get this out. I need to tell this whole story. I need to give the play-by-play.
Do you check in with them to make sure that is what's happening, that they need to like spew and get the whole story out? Or is it just an intuitive thing at this point?
A little of both.
Just kind of feel like,
you know, I might say something like, ooh, I just want to pin that. That's something we're going to need to get into.
Right.
Because that's this pattern here, but I think you need to keep going. If you want to keep going.
Okay.
You know, so yes, I'll do that kind of thing. And I think even with this one, I did some version of that a couple of times.
Right.
Without saying, I really need to get this out. I could tell they really needed to get it out.
So really great segue here to it's not a good segue. I don't know what this means, but I'm reading it now. It's something that I think Drew said in the session that sticks out to me, but I don't know what the context is because I just re-listened to the session and I did not hear this. So it says the baton is passing, but I'm passing it to myself.
Yeah.
He says that at some point, right?
He does.
I don't remember hearing that. I might have glossed over it.
So this is what I thought one of the themes was going to be.
Right.
He's about to have a son. And it's bringing up for him some of how he's thinking of how his dad was with him and how he was with his dad, right? I want to protect my kid from feeling what I felt when dad wasn't around.
Okay. That's what we were talking about earlier.
Right. And he was saying, I was talking to my dad, you know, I realized his feeling of watching us grow up and how cool that might have been. And it's sort of like the baton passing, but I'm passing it to me.
Right.
What I really loved about him talking about the baton is that he said, it's not that my dad passed the baton to me and I'm taking it. It's that I pulled a baton off the shelf and I'm going to run with that now.
Yeah. What do you think that reframe did for him?
That he was talking about it in terms of his own experience. He was noticing what it was like for his dad. Like he was observing how he observed his dad.
Yeah.
So he had all these formulations in his head. And he's thinking of, oh, now it's me that's going to be observing my son and observing that. His dad didn't sit him down and go, well, Drew, you're having a son now. And what that means is this. Yeah. And here's what I mean.
That's what I picked up from it wasn't really an explicit or overt conversation.
It wasn't at all.
Yeah. And honestly, too, I think because of the attachment element here that he doesn't fully trust or have that secure attachment with his dad or his parents in general. And so it's almost like I don't think he would have trusted or respected that type of handoff, or he just,
for sure,
he wasn't going to get it. And he kind of has accepted he's not going to get it.
Yeah. He wasn't going to get it from them. So he's got to get it himself.
Yeah.
Yes. And if he did get it from them, we talked about this recently, he doesn't respect them. I don't want a baton from my dad. No.
Right. Because like, okay, what am I going to do with this? It doesn't mean as much.
Right.
See, this session is so interesting because there's all these little bits, like beats, I guess you can call them, of just themes, but they're not disjointed, but they're separate and somehow connected. Like, I think you do a good job, obviously, as a therapist, of connecting it all, especially at the end.
And sometimes they're harder than others. I mean, that's what we were talking about earlier before we even started recording, is I was like, yeah, I had to listen to this session again because I didn't
What's going on here?
Wait, what was going on here? Where was I going?
Yeah.
And during the session, I'm listening to it going, where am I going? What's going on? What are we doing?
Yeah, where are we going?
And then we get somewhere and I go, oh, cool. So in the moment, just kind of being there for it and allowing him to have this space to put this all out there. And I go like, okay, well, I hear this, this, and this. What sticks? Okay, let's go with that. And if you know the overall and where you're going, then you can trust that you're going to play some of these out and they'll fit in.
It's that faith again, isn't it? It's that hope, that faith, that optimism of, okay, we're on the right track here no matter what, because we're just present. I can't help but wonder what Drew thinks of this session, right? And there's no way to get that answer now, but I just mean hypothetically, right? It would be interesting to get his perspective on a session like this.
Yeah, it would. I'm trying to put myself in his shoes.
Right. Because I bet he thought this was a very good session. Like it was probably impactful.
Yeah, for some sessions, and this is true for a lot of you guys, regardless of what side of the room you're on, you might think a session was all over the place. And the other, whether it's the client or the therapist, will go, wow, that was really helpful.
Yeah, that kind of scares me a little bit, but it's also just the nature of relationships. Like people have different stories, different perspectives of one situation.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, there are times where I go, wow, that was great. Like, oh, we got this really useful thing. That was amazing. And they might go, that sucked. I didn't get to talk about anything I wanted to talk about. Like,
or the next week, they'll like call you out on something or just be like,
what?
Last session, like something happened or blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And you just don't know.
I fucking wrote that down and pinned it on my wall. I thought it was brilliant.
Right. I gave myself a gold star. Okay. So speaking of the random little beats or themes here, I really like this one too. The unknown, that's okay because I know me.
Yeah.
So I can be prepared just by being me.
Yep.
That's fun. That's very humanistic. I love that.
That's the ultimate Green Beret. That's the whole idea of what Green Beret versus Boy Scout is.
Okay, because that metaphor, analogy, whatever we want to call it, still a little lost on me because I don't know shit about that stuff. So every time it comes up, I'm like, wait. Yeah. Wait, a Green Beret does this and a Boy Scout.
Okay, so when I introduce it, it's if you wanted to go camping, who would you rather go with? The Boy Scout who has all the gear, every little thing is prepared for any possible thing because the Boy Scout motto is be prepared.
Okay.
Or the Green Beret who just knows he can kill a bear with a blade of grass.
He's the Bear Grylls kind of
survival. But the idea of that is I know myself. I can be in any situation because I know myself. I'm fine.
It's positive towards the Green Beret. Is that always, or is it depending on the context?
Sort of, but I also say it's a spectrum. Like if you know it's going to be raining when you're going camping, I don't care if you can build a poncho from a palm leaf. Like, bring an umbrella.
Okay, so in that case, you would want the Boy Scout.
It's a spectrum.
Okay.
That's why I say the ultimate Green Beret is I know myself. I know I'm going to be okay in something. He was so scared, Drew was, of the unknown when we first started working.
Of course.
So he wanted to be total Boy Scout. I want to be prepared with everything. I want to make sure everybody else is prepared. I want to know everything about every situation and every detail that could possibly come up.
I'm getting it.
Right?
I'm getting it. I'm going to try it out. I'm going to try it. I don't know if I'm ready actually to try it out with a client.
What would make you feel ready? Would it be like having every little detail and possibility of it?
See,
or would it be knowing yourself as a therapist?
Meta. Well, that is what I'm trying to figure out, Doug, is me as a therapist, can I confidently use the Green Beret Boy Scout metaphor? I don't know. There's something about it that doesn't align fully with my worldview or something, my culture. I don't know. I'm like, I don't know how to use that confidently, but I want something similar to that about like how to make people feel comfy with the unknown and just like trusting themselves as opposed to having like the answers to life.
Right.
That other people are imposing on them.
You can go with this. If you're going to take an exam.
Yes.
Do you need to like do flashcards and know every definition for every word and everything that could possibly be on the exam?
Right.
Or do you just need to understand the material?
Okay. But how do you get to understanding the material?
Well, you go to therapy.
Or you do flashcards.
Right, but flashcards is like straight memorization.
Okay, that's like maintenance rehearsal. That's what I used to do before exams. And you're right, I don't remember everything that I did on those exams because it was just maintenance rehearsal.
So having been a college dropout 3 times, I had the experience.
3 times?
Yeah, I think so.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I graduated 12 years after I started.
Okay.
Right?
What a journey for you. Wow. And you did it.
Sure. I was an actor in college, right?
So yes.
There was something wonderful that I did the same play 2 years in a row, and it was a graduate student written 1-act play. And the director had us get rid of the scripts, not because we had them all memorized at that time. Mm-hmm. It was, you guys know your characters so well. I want you just to improvise. Yep. You know where the scene needs to go. Just be your character, right? Okay. And the writer was in the room. And he was like writing some of the things that we were doing and that we were saying. Cool. And they worked its way into the actual script. The following year when I did it again, it was like, oh, wow.
That's a good exercise.
I remember this stuff. We just came up with that. But that was because we knew our characters. It's sort of like know thyself, right? And that's exactly what we were getting to with Drew, of just knowing him. Being okay with the unknown and being prepared is by virtue of knowing himself.
I can't help but wonder and tie this to the question that I started with in the intro. Because I don't know, me, I guess, as a argumentative client who pontificates on stupid things all the time.
No, you're not. And what I think about that is
Oh my gosh.
See? Argumentative, pontificating.
I got it. Yeah.
sure
It's
you did.
annoying. So is that how I come off all the time? My
Not
poor therapist.
all the time.
My poor therapist. So if we're going with the concept or the truth that people do change, because this is what I would say as a client. I'd be like, well, okay, if we're supposed to just trust ourselves, but I know that I'm changing all the time, what can I hold on to? What am I actually trusting? Am I just trusting the process and the fact that I am changing all the time, but there is some ultimate truth to me or like a constant in me, or what am I trusting?
Yeah. And I would say that, yes, you want to have some integrity, some values.
Yeah.
Right?
Values. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that to
Which
me,
do change, but
they can change
but-
over time for
yeah.
sure. Again, the river flowing, like
Yes.
it's going to flow in this direction,
right.
but it might veer off that way over there, and it might have to adapt to how the topography is changing.
Yeah.
That's life. We adapt to change. And some people don't adapt. And some people need to be themselves, and it could be in conflict or it might not be.
Yeah, that's where it becomes too rigid, right? And then
Maybe,
I guess
maybe
it depends.
it doesn't. Maybe
Yeah.
it's no matter how chaotic or wonderful life can be around me,
Mm-hmm.
I am going to be solid and dependable and the same
Yeah.
way throughout. I am the constant.
Oh gosh. See, I have this like amorphous blob vision of human beings now where we're just these living organisms that are affected by things, and we're always we are constantly changing. My God, we are constantly changing. I'm going to have such
You have
a
your
big
answer.
fight with him because we're taking in things from the environment all the time and we're outputting things all the time. And like, how can we not be changing? I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to get way too.
All I got to say
in
is
this.
turn and face the strange.
Changing. Thank you. I know that song. Okay, well, my other questions. Oh my God, I had so many notes on this weird episode. This for such a weird session, but I think that's why I have so many notes, because my favorite line is
Yeah.
you repeating his line when you say, one of the strongest things you've said today is, I pooped my pants.
Right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And really, I mean, my understanding of that conversation is just, it's a metaphor for being human and having limitations and the existential given of being a human. We have freedom to an extent, but really, we can't do it all.
Right.
And he got a really hard dose of that lesson.
Yeah, he was fine with it. You know?
I know.
And I love that. You know, no matter what life throws at you. Okay. Yeah.
Do you think he was fine with it initially? Because I can't remember exactly the way he said it in the beginning. Do you think he was okay with it after he like kind of gauged your reaction to it? Like if you would have responded like, oh my God, you shit your pants. You know what I mean?
No.
Okay. He was just naturally
fine.
Yeah.
Because for him, it wasn't like, and I asked about the embarrassment. It wasn't about embarrassment.
Right. Oh, yeah. I remember
He
this.
was already in the bathroom and it was, oh, this happened. It was more like, oh, I'm getting sick.
I'm
Something's
sick.
not right.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, see, talk about paths you can go down, because that could have been a whole other conversation too, right? Of like, wow, what's it like to not really listen to your body until you are shitting your pants at work?
Right. And,
You know?
and what he and I did talk about was then him having to call girlfriend who was out with her mom shopping.
Right. And
And-
feeling like a burden or
Right.
whatever.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, I just derailed their day because she has to come pick me up. And then he's a day later that night, he's sick. He's got 103.5 degree temperature. And then she gets sick too.
Yeah, of course. Beckett, are you going to come join us? Oh my God. Come up, baby. Beckett,
Go get her.
come on.
Go get her. Go
Come
get
on.
Kenzie.
Come on, Beckett. Hey,
No? Oh, do you want daddy?
what do you want?
Come here to daddy.
Come on. Oh! Yay! What a good boy.
Aw.
Thank you. Is this the first time he's done this?
Second time he's gotten on the couch
Did you
with you.
miss me? Did you miss me?
Aw.
Oh, bud.
Well, should we wrap this up so
I
you
guess-
guys can have...
Beckett finally joined me on the couch, everyone. This is a big deal. Someone left a comment. They were like in my corner and they
Aw.
said, don't worry, Kenzie, like Beckett will make it onto the couch with
Yeah.
you.
I think this is his way of saying, wrap it up, guys.
Yeah,
so on that note, thank you, Beckett. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for putting in a good word to the universe for Beckett joining me on the couch, because it happened and I'm complete. And I'll never see you again because I'll never come back. I never need to now. This is it.
There goes the couch. All right, guys. We will see you next week.
Leave us a question or something, anything.
Leave us a question?
Leave us a question mark? Anything. I want to interact with the audience. I think it's fun. Okay, bye, Beckett.
Oh.
All right. Should we keep recording? No, just kidding. We're done.
Bye.
Bye.
Maybe someday.